Lloyd Taylor.
Murphy Lloyd Taylor. Hey, this is May 11th, 1988.
Right.
And this is Joe Todd, an interview with Mr. Murphy Lloyd Taylor. And we're in Kansas City, and where do you live?
I live in Opelousas, Louisiana. O-P-E-L-O-U.
O-U.
S-A-S.
S-A-S. When's your birthday?
September 5th, 1918.
And were you born in Louisiana?
Yes.
What part of Louisiana?
About 20 miles from Opelousas,
Oh.
Palmetto.
Yeah. Okay. And you went through high school there?
Yeah.
Okay. And why did you decide to join the Navy?
Well, there was just nothing to do around there. And I don't know, I had two uncles that had been in the Navy. And I thought I'd try it out.
And when did you join the Navy?
June 1936.
And where'd you go for boot camp?
Norfolk.
Norfolk. Tell me about boot camp.
Well, boot camp wasn't so good. We had a chief that he used to take his saber out and swat you across the rear end. And he done that to one guy so much till the guy fixed bayonets and chased him all over the place. And I don't know, they took him up, I guess, for analysis, and we got a new chief. And we got a little torpedoman. And this was his first time, young, he was first time, and he was darn good. And then I enjoyed boot camp. We had one guy that got killed. He, we had to sleep in hammocks, and he fell out on the cement deck and busted his head, and we lost him.
And how long did boot camp last?
3 months.
3 months. And from Norfolk, where'd you go?
Right across the bay on Oklahoma.
When you first saw the Oklahoma, what'd you think?
I didn't think they had any ships that size. It was a surprise to me. But I got so I liked it.
And where were your quarters in the ship?
On the starboard side, at the break of the quarter deck.
At the quarter deck?
Yeah.
Now what's a quarter deck?
Well, right there, where you're.
Is it on there?
Yeah, right here.
Okay. So right here?
Yeah, where the wood starts there.
Okay, let me turn around. So you're about right here then, your quarters. Okay.
Yeah, well, my quarters were right there.
Okay, let me get it on camera there, right there where you pointed. Okay. Okay. Describe your quarters.
Well, there was all bunks, and as you entered the quarters, all the bunks was on the left, and the lockers were on the right. And we must have had about 60 bunks in there. And I mean, I liked the quarters. The quarters were very nice as far as it was right at the break of the deck, and you got air right from the deck.
So you had portholes there in your
Oh,
quarters?
yes.
And you said you had lockers there also?
Yeah.
Each man had one locker.
Yeah, each man had one locker.
And were the bunks stacked?
It was stacked.
How many high?
I think there was 4.
Mm-hmm.
4 high.
And where'd you take your meals?
Up in gun deck, where the secondary battery is.
And what do you mean by secondary battery?
What the heck was it? The 6-inch.
Okay. So that'd be up on this up in here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was casemates, they call it.
Okay, the casemates, yeah, right up in here.
Right.
Okay.
And you had mess cooks
Mm-hmm.
at those times, and each man was supposed to do 3 months of mess cooking. And I did my 3 months before I ever went to striking for fire control.
What rank did you have when you went on board?
I was a seaman second. Just out of boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I made first class on that before I left.
Mm-hmm. After you finished your mess cook and you became the fireman?
No, fire control.
Fire control. What was your average day? What were your duties in fire control?
Well, my average day was depended on where I worked. When I went to striking for fire control, I worked in a plotting room where all the computers were and the gun controls. In other words, switching directives. You had your switchboards and everything. And we had to keep that clean and also working. And well, we had to learn as a striker. You had to learn all about that.
Now, where was your duty located as a fire control?
All over the ship.
All over the ship.
Wherever there was guns or sound-powered phones and all the directives, we had to take care of them. So it was all over the ship. We worked in all the turrets.
So you work with the 14-inch guns?
Oh yes.
How are those guns fired?
They were fired from a director.
And where was he located?
In conning tower.
At the top of the mast?
No.
No.
That's where your secondary battery was fired from. Your controls were up there, and the conning tower was right back here. It's real thick.
Oh, right back here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where your gunnery officer was located.
Now, is there a switch they pull or a button they push to actually fire the...
Oh yes, I fired.
You did?
Well, later on in years, I was up there with the gunnery officer, and I was a pointer on the director, and when he said fire, I fired.
So just a button you pushed or?
Yeah, a trigger.
Trigger. How far could you fire those shells, the projectiles?
Well, it all depends. If you had a full powder load, you could go around 14 miles. And if you had a semi-load, they cut you down about 10, 12.
Yeah.
Use that for target practice.
Any incidents that you can recall while you were on the ship, besides Pearl Harbor?
Well, yeah. I No, I really can't.
Someone mentioned about the Oklahoma hitting a freight train.
Oh, that is right. I'm sorry.
Were you on board when that happened?
Yes, I was on
Tell me
board.
about that.
Well, we were going up to Burlington in the yard, and right by Burlington, it was foggy when we went in there, and we was just getting ready to go into the yard in Burlington, and we hit this barge with a train on it, and we couldn't see anything, and we really didn't know what happened, all of it, because we finally got into the yard there. Tugs put us in there, and I think we knocked the train right off of the flat barge.
Any damage to the ship?
Not too much, no. I was later on, just before the war, well, a month or two, I was sent to the Enterprise for a week on training on radar, because the Enterprise was at that time was the only ship that had a radar for planes and stuff. And one night, the Oklahoma come underneath the hangar deck on aft and tore some stuff off of it, and tore some off the carrier too. That was hanging fire when Pearl Harbor, and I don't know whatever happened to that. There was supposed to be an investigation.
Yeah. Were you on board when the Oklahoma helped search for Amelia Earhart?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What? I'm not familiar with that story at all.
Well, we just went out searching for it, and sent the planes up, looking around the islands and stuff.
Now, what islands were you around?
Oh, we was around all of the Japanese islands there. But we stayed out there, I don't know how long we stayed out there, 3 or 4 days, searching and stuff. We went out there, and we never saw anything, or there was really not much said about it.
Yeah. Someone mentioned that the Oklahoma had the same type of radio that she had, or something that they could pick up the signal.
That I don't know,
Yeah. Okay.
because I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. Any other incidents besides the sinking the freight train that you can?
No, other than that, and hitting the carrier Enterprise when I was on it.
Someone mentioned, was it any other collisions at sea that happened while you were there?
No.
Okay. Who was your division officer?
Shum.
Shum? S-H-U-M?
Yeah, he made Admiral.
And which division were you a member?
F Division.
F Division.
Fox, yeah.
Okay. So, tell me, were you aware of the Japanese buildup in the Pacific?
Yeah, we knew that, well, in fact, the week before Pearl Harbor, we knew the Japanese was out there. They had submarines, we stayed at general quarters all the time. I mean, we had a watch on it all the time while we was out there. And that's why we come into port, is to get away from the place out there, because we did know there was submarines out there, something.
Did you think the government knew that the attack was coming?
I kind of feel that, yes. I feel that they knew that the Japanese was going to do something. And they knew that the Japanese fleet was on a rampage. I don't know if they knew exactly what it was, but they knew it was at sea.
Now, you say you were on shore patrol December 6th.
Yes.
Notice anything different in Honolulu?
No, I really didn't. I done my Christmas shopping December the 6th and left all my packages and everything in the stores to be mailed. And then I made my shore patrol rounds.
Describe a shore patrol round. What do you do when you're...
Well, you walk the streets and in the areas where the sailors at. And if they're unable to maneuver and get around and look sloppy, pick them up. You take them in. You don't put any charges against them unless there's really something wrong. Just put them in for safekeeping. And then later on that night, they return to the ship. And when I finished my rounds, they put me in charge of the brig. Then I had to, whenever anyone was brought in, I had to put them in.
Is this on the Oklahoma?
No, it was over in town.
Oh, in town.
Yes. And then about 2 o'clock, we started loading paddy wagons, sending them out to the ship. And I don't think we got cleaned up, everything cleaned up and out until about 3:30 that morning. We got back to the ship by 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sleeping in when the attack started.
So you were in your quarters in the quarterdeck?
Yeah, I was in my bunk, sleeping. Some guy passed and shook my bunk and said, "Japanese attacking." I says, "You full of bull," and I went back to sleep. Somebody else come along, woke me up again, and this time I knew there was something wrong. I jumped out and I run across the ship in the next division over there at the break of the deck, and that's where I was when the first torpedo hit, and it hit right there below my quarters where I was sleeping. And there was about 65 people in the compartment trying to get out the door on the quarterdeck, and it was panic. And I knew there wasn't any use going up there, so I just stayed back, and it filled up with water.
And how far below deck were you?
Well, I was right in that quarter at the break of the deck. When he went below, turned over, it filled up with water and left a little air pocket in one corner. And just about that time, somebody grabbed onto me, and I mean, he had death grip. And I had to go underwater and fight him. Finally got rid of him, and I come back up, and there was 3 of us up there left. And then we started taking turns diving down, looking for a way out. Finally, we found a porthole open, and we went down, and we had the chaplain's yeoman. He was one of them in there, and he was the smallest, so we let him go first, and he was spitting up blood when he come to top side. The air got bad. Then I went second because the other guy, he said, "No, I'm bigger than you, so you go." Well, I tore my shoulder a little bit getting out the port, but I got out.
How big's that porthole?
I don't know. I think it's about 12 inches. 12, 14 inches.
Did the other guy make it out too?
Yeah, he made it out. And when I hit top side, I opened my mouth, take a big deep breath, and I got full of oil. Just swallowed all that. The water was covered with oil. And there was a line hanging over the ship. The keel was way out of water. And tried to hold on to the line, and it was oily. And the guys panicked, they couldn't hold on, and they just take it right down, slipping, you know. They wouldn't tread water and hold on lightly. So I just swam out. I went out in the middle there, and I was floating on my back, just paddling. And I run into some guy, and I held on to him. And I must have stayed out there about an hour. And the Japanese was flying over, taking pictures. I was looking at them. And finally a boat come out, picked me up. I couldn't even help myself. They had to drag me in the boat. I was just pooped out. I didn't have any strength. And well, by the time we got to Ford Island, the first aid station there, sick bay, I went in there because all I had on was a pair of shorts. I didn't have any shoes, nothing. And my back was tore. I went in there and I saw all these poor guys. All the bunks were full and people were laying under the bunks, all burned up. And I got a sheet and I kind of wrapped up in that to warm up a little bit. And I went out in the patio, which was open, and I was out there by myself. And I was looking up, and there was a Jap plane. He let go a bomb. You know that bomb come and hit right in that opening, right in the middle. Cement, umbrella, all over me, and not a piece hit me. I don't know why. But I'll tell you one thing, when it quit flying, I dropped the sheet and I was gone. I went over to the Marine barracks, and I got into a Marine's locker. That guy must have been awful big because I had to use line to tie his pants on me. And I wear a 6.5 shoe. I got a 9.5. But I got some clothes to put on out of there. And from there, they sent me to ammunition depot. And for 3 or 4 days, we slept on the ground between loading ammunition.
What were you loading?
We was loading boats to take them out to the ships, and we were also unloading ammunition, like all the powder off of the battleships was brought over there on a barge. I had to go out and I would cut the black powder off of the powder and put that separate in water, fresh water, and then fill the other can up with fresh water, and it was shipped back to the States for rework.
Why were you shipping it back to the States?
For rework.
Oh, well, what's rework? I don't.
Oh, well, they'd fix it up again to where it was usable, and bag it and put black powder on it.
Someone said that a lot of the ships had practice ammunition on them.
Yeah.
So you were taking the practice ammunition off and putting what, battle ammunition on? Or?
Well, no, it was a lot of it, like some of them had the 5-inch and stuff. You didn't have the fuses and stuff. We were shipping ammunition out because they had very little ammunition on those ships. They didn't carry a full complement, and we were putting ammunition on there, and also they were sending some back to us for rework and stuff.
What were you wearing when you came off the ship?
Pair of shorts.
That's all?
That's all.
Whenever you were in the quarterdeck and it's filling up with water, what were you thinking?
I figured it was the last. I relived my life in seconds there.
How old were you?
I was 18. Oh no, sorry. 41. I was 20. Well, I was 21, I think, because September.
Yeah. When you were on shore, when you got on shore, could you see the Oklahoma?
I could see the bottom, yeah.
What did you think when you saw it upside down?
I didn't believe it, but it was it.
How many guys in your division didn't make it?
Oh, every man in the plotting room. I lost a lot of good friends there. One of my best friends was in the plotting room. Wimmer from West Virginia. Because at the time he'd go ashore, he'd go and get my car and use it anytime he wanted to. And he had a place to sleep at my house. And there was about 30 of us that went aboard there from the platoon, and I think there was about 12 or so that went into F division.
Now, how far below your quarters did the torpedo hit?
I would say that it come into the executive. Executive office, right below us.
Now, were you still in your bunk when that torpedo hit?
No, I had started across.
Okay.
I was about halfway across the ship.
So you were on the starboard side when it hit, or you were in the middle of the ship?
I was about the middle of the ship when it hit.
So you were on the starboard side, which was up and over?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Went this
So it was like when 100 and some degrees over.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you there when they raised the Oklahoma?
I went aboard it in dry dock.
What'd you think when you went aboard?
There was no hope for it. And I knew that that would never sail again. Now there was at least one fire controlman that was on there when I went aboard. He had been working on the salvage of it, but I have never seen him nor heard of him since.
Yeah, I have, it's there somewhere. Okay. What is the E on the Oklahoma?
E?
Yeah, there's an E on the smokestack.
Oh, that was for gunnery.
Gunnery?
Yeah.
How big was the room that you were in when the ship went over? Was it your quarters that you were in?
No, it was opposite side.
Okay.
Same size.
Yeah. And how big would that be? How big of an area?
Well, I'd say forget it at all, so.
About 20, 25 feet?
Yeah, about 20, 25 feet.
And how big was the air pocket that you were in?
Oh, the air pocket was, I would say about 2 feet high.
So were you just treading water in there?
Yeah.
So you couldn't touch water?
Oh, no.
What about the guy that had the death grip on you? What happened to him?
I don't know. After I broke away from him, I don't. Because I knew if he held on to me, we'd both stay down.
And how far down did you have to go until you found the porthole?
About, I'd say about 7, 8 feet.
So what part of the ship was above water there? The ship had turned.
Oh, yes. The keel.
So were you in that air pocket, and what was above your head? Was it the deck that was up there, or what?
Yeah. It was a deck.
Whenever anyone mentions the USS Oklahoma, what do you think of?
I just think it's a miracle that I got off of it. I feel like, well, it wasn't my time. I had quite a few close calls during the war, but I think that's the closest.
Did you understand some of the crew went back to help cut the 32 men out?
Yeah, there were some of them. But I never had talked to them, any of them, because I had been sent over to the ammunition depot, and then after that, they sent me back to the yard where in dry dock was these 2 destroyers that had turned over when that cruiser had flooded the dry dock to get out. And I lived up there for about 2 weeks in a tent on top of the dry dock. And I had working parties. I was in charge of working parties to clean that dry dock out. Well, clean the ships out, which was a mess. And
How'd you clean the ships out?
the best way you could, you just take all the junk out of it and try to get as much oil as you could out of them. And I never did get anything to wash with. I wasn't even able to take a shower. Oh, it was, when I was sent aboard the Chester, had a lieutenant as division officer. First thing he said to me, "You need a shave." I says, "You loan me your damn razor and I'll shave." He said, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "Well, you should have thought before you talked." And we never did really get along. In the line of duty, I talked to him, but otherwise I didn't.
Where were you in the Arizona?
I was still in the ship.
You're still on the ship.
Yeah.
Did you hear it?
Yeah, you could hear all of that.
How long were you inside in the airplane?
I don't know. It seemed like forever, but I think we were in there for about a half an hour or so. Because as far as I know, I think we all took turns looking for port, and all three of us had gone down about twice before we finally found.
And how far up the surface?
Oh, I would say about 30 feet. We were just lucky that the water wasn't on fire. Had oil in the water.
I understand it did catch on fire later on.
It probably did. But I was out in the middle floating.
What's your fondest memory of the Oklahoma?
I just enjoyed being aboard there, and we had a bunch of good guys, and I just didn't like to leave. I was transferred once to the New Hampshire because the fire controlman was leaving, and when I got over there, he decided he wasn't going to leave. He was going to ship over. So I went to see the exec, and the exec sent me back to Oklahoma the next day. So that's why I was on there then.
Anything else about the Oklahoma you want to? Anything else about the Oklahoma you want to talk about or discuss?
No, I don't think. I liked the officers and all my guys I had in my division, and quite a few people on there.
Did you know Captain Ford?
Yeah.
What kind of man was he?
liked the exec better than I did him.
Was that Kenworth?
Yeah.
What kind of man was he, Kenworth?
He was a nice guy. He's the one that went over into Honolulu and got the store owners and stuff to give us sample toothpaste, soap, cigarettes, and he was trying to see that we got everything he could get for us needed, because we didn't have a thing. I didn't even have a penny to buy of one of these postcards to send home. And I found the penny just as I got to the post office. And I went and got a card. But that card did not get home until I got on a ship and wrote a letter. I think the letter got there before the post. They didn't know whether I was dead or alive.
Who's your folks?
Yeah. And I didn't get any money for a month or so. All our records were lost, and I lost all my money when the ship went down because my wallet was in my locker and everything. And when I went aboard the Chester, I think they give us $10 a piece to buy toilet articles and stuff. And we were able to get a few pieces of clothes, and then later on we got approval from the Navy Department, but the allotment of money that they give me did not pay for what clothes I had needed. I had to put my money out on clothes. For instance, dress blues, I had 2 suits, and all I could get was 1. And I didn't even buy a Pico because I didn't have the money.
What did the inside of the Oklahoma look like after it was raised?
They had cleaned it up pretty good, but they just didn't get it all. Now, the thing was, you see, we had a fire control shop down below on the 3rd deck, forward, and all our lockers was there in the shop. Now all those lockers were broken into, and everything was gone. There wasn't a thing in them. So I don't know where everything went. But I didn't even stay aboard that very long when I went aboard, because just too much memories there. So I just went on off.
Well, Mr. Taylor, we have a good interview. Anything else?
No, that's about all.
Okay. Sir?
Thank you.
Thank you.